From becoming an invincible force in the featherweight division to getting a shot at becoming the 5th champ in UFC history. Here's how Volkanovski plans to take on his next challenge, Islam Makhachev. For starters, he has a bone to pick with Dagestani wrestling. Before I tell you what the Aussie means by that, I quickly want to get one thing out of the way. I'm amazed at how easily people are counting Volkanovski out, despite everything he's done at the UFC. He's the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and considering his dominance in the featherweight division, Volka is undoubtedly the best UFC champion of 2022.
For yourself. People trying to bring me down. I stood up and look at me now. No one can bring me down anymore. Stand up.
He's done the impossible by beating some of the biggest names in the division, and even then, MMA fans think Islam will walk right over him at UFC 284. But don't be mistaken, guys, that's exactly what's fueling Alexander at this moment. He's super pumped to be the underdog going into this fight, and when it comes to his opponent, the featherweight champ has a bone to pick with his fighting style.
What do you make of the UFC announcing that Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler will be the coaches of the Ultimate Fighter this year?
Yeah.
Volkanovski recently talked about how almost every fighter at the promotion is so afraid of Dagestani wrestling. And if I'm being honest, why wouldn't they be? Khabib schooled an entire division with his elite wrestling and grappling, only for Islam to come along and keep the tradition alive. He submitted the submission king, Charles Oliveira, to win the lightweight title. And as he gears up to take on Alexander Volkanovski, MMA fans and analysts claim that Dagestani wrestling will be too much for him. That's not what Volka thinks, though.
I definitely want that fight back.
Is it going to be hard for you to go motivate yourself to fight at featherweight when you know Islam?
He claims that it's only going to solidify his legacy even more when he finally counters Islam's elite wrestling and raises his hand at UFC 284. And it's not just empty words. Alexander has been putting in the work to walk his talk. Is it going to be easy beating someone like Makhachev? No way. But if there's a right man for the job, it has to be Volkanovski. And no, like I said before, this isn't just talk from the featherweight champion, since he's been putting in some solid work to lift the lightweight title. He started his camp earlier and called elite professional wrestlers from all over the world to train with them. Even his fellow training partner and former middleweight champion Israel Adesanya claims Alexander is on another level now.
Looking forward to was facing Jared as an opponent, but the second thing I was looking forward to was John Crouch.
Both of them have been wrestling, and despite the crazy size difference, the Aussie has been giving the last stylebender a really tough time. That also sort of silences all the critics who've been talking about the difference in their heights. Islam has a significant advantage when it comes to height, as he towers over Volka. It's literally the talk of the hour.
Training every day, morning, evening, all the time we in the gym.
Even former UFC champ turned commentator Daniel Cormier thinks Volka will fall at UFC 284 because of the height difference. But Alexander isn't letting those comments faze him one bit. And if you ask me, it's not exactly breaking news. Volka has been short his entire life. This isn't the first time he's fighting a taller opponent. Even during his rugby days, Volka was close to 200 pounds, taking on guys much bigger than him.
Considering everything he said about how Aussies don't have wrestling.
Yeah, for sure. You know what I mean? Like, coming to Mike.
So it's a bit strange how everyone's talking about his height all of a sudden when he's dealt with bigger guys in the past. And even if Islam does have a significant advantage over him, all that will go flying out the window if Volkanovski manages to land his signature punch flat on his face. Oh, and most of you probably don't know this, but despite being 4 inches taller than him, Makhachev still doesn't have a reach advantage over him.
8 win streak. I'm ready for title fight. Please, anyone, doesn't matter.
It's actually the Aussie who has the better reach. I think it's time people realize Volka isn't small, he's just short. And when he sees him square off at UFC 284, the pressure will be on Islam, as he has everything to lose in his first title defense. Plus, one thing I really love about Alexander is he understands how to turn his weaknesses into strengths. Sure, he might be 4 inches shorter than the Dagestani, but that also means he's going to be much harder to take down. While talking to Yahoo Sports, the featherweight champion says he's built like a brick wall, and because he's 5'6", it'll be much more difficult for Islam to take him down. Also, for everyone thinking it'll be a huge upset if Alexander wins, the American gangster Chael Sonnen has a few words to say. It won't be a massive day in MMA history if Islam fails to defend his title, you know?
This fight is dedicated to my grandma Natalie, my friend Elena, who are in a battle,
Much bigger than the show.
It's not like he's going up against nobody. He's fighting the featherweight king, the #1 pound-for-pound fighter, a guy who's cleared the entire division. So when Sonnen says it won't be shocking news if the Aussie wins, I totally agree with him.
Basically cornered him just to say yes. It was like a mugging, but they didn't take his money. They just needed him to say yes to take the money.
Let's look at things logically here. Volka is #1, while Islam is #2. Volka has more title defenses, more experience as a champion, and more victories. He's also only lost once in his entire career. And you could argue it's the same with Islam, but the differences in their resumes are massive. Charles Oliveira was probably the first real opponent Makhachev fought, while Alexander has multiple superstars on his hit list.
Training as well, and then you've got to have even more than that sometimes. It's pretty crazy, but hey, we're taking this serious.
So if you look at it like that, what Sonnen says makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure why people are thinking it'll be a huge feat for Volka to win over Islam. It's not like he's Khabib or someone, you know? And for all those people out there doubting the Aussie, please rewatch UFC 276 to get an idea of what Volk can do inside the cage. But I think we have to realize how Islam is going to be coming into this battle hot as well. He claims to have started camp just 10 days after the Oliveira bout.
Dia que a gente tá aqui e não é o nosso melhor dia. Olha só, eu prometo para todo mundo. Eu vou buscar ele de volta.
This whole time, I've been going on and on about Volka doing this and that, but what's Islam up to? I'm sure he isn't just sitting around thinking he's going to win regardless because of the size difference, right? He knows very well Alexander is a beast, and to overcome the challenge, he'll need to put in the work and do things differently to win the biggest fight of his career. The Dagestani claims to have started camp just 10 days after UFC 280, but unlike Volk's, Islam is working without his mentor, his coach, the undefeated Khabib Nurmagomedov. I won't exactly call it a last-minute blow, but it's probably going to be very different training without such an influential figure in your camp and corner. But despite all that, Makhachev is aching to fight at Perth and vows to beat the Aussie in the second or third round of the fight via knockout.
Just doing this, it doesn't matter, I still got my belt and all that type of stuff. Obviously, I'm going to be very, very devastated.
Huge claims from the 155-pound champion. Let's see if he can live up to it on the night of action. Before signing off this video, let's quickly go over what other fighters feel about this matchup. UFC superstar and former double-weight champion Conor McGregor thinks Volkanovski will be a real threat having put on the additional weight. Since he has considerable experience carrying around extra weight, he'll come in like a bowling ball and just run through the Dagestani champion. And like I told you at the start of the video, former middleweight champion Israel Adesanya is also siding with the Aussie to come home with a lightweight title.
Before this fight all week, I said I'm on another level right now. I can't be stopped. And I just showed you. He actually took a lot.
The Dagestani boys obviously are siding with their fellow training partner, with Khabib calling it tough, but nothing Islam can't handle. Let's see. I'm super excited about this one. It's a dream for MMA fans to see the two dominant forces share the cage. So that's how Alexander Volkanovski plans to subdue the lightweight champ. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.